Alright, guys. So, we've been talking about pollution, right? So, there is a big lawsuit between Rome and Calhoun. Alright? And it's over the soil. Because Calhoun, the carpet poles and stuff, keep dumping stuff into the river, and it's going down the river. And the chemicals are called forever chemicals. So, like, they don't go away. They're always there. So, what happens if you put chemicals in the water? What happens to the soil? What does it do? Okay. Does the soil soak it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the soil, like it goes away and dies.
Yeah, it can kill everything.
It poisons the soil.
It poisons the soil. So, think about that, guys. If we're dumping stuff into rivers, or we're spraying weeds, or we're spraying crops, and all this other kind of stuff to kill either bugs, or like I said, weeds. But where do those chemicals go? When it rains. When it rains and washes it off the grass and all the different stuff, where's it going?
In our ocean, or like rivers, in our water.
It's going in the rivers.
Watching you the whole time.
And
What
the
else?
water supply.
Where else? Don't think water. Not just water. What's beneath, what makes grass?
The grass, the soil.
The soil.
And then the cows eat it and then they get poisoned.
Okay, so what's the difference between organic beef and non-organic?
One is like, it
One is
doesn't
made
have
up
all
of
that
plants.
poison and stuff, and the other one is not organic and it has like all the poisons.
Right. So when you have a cow that is grass-fed organic, then they haven't been around chemicals. So that means on that farm, nothing was sprayed. So when you do, let's say you go to the grocery store, you got the organic meat, which costs more, doesn't it? Most of the time. Okay, and then you got the one that's not organic. So the not organic means that they can spread chemicals on the grass, or they can do all the stuff that the farmers that have the organic beef can. Does that make sense? Yes. No. Okay, so if we're putting pollutants into the soil, then we're putting crops on it. What's happening? Not necessarily.
They'll grow and they'll just be like not poisonous, but they'll be contaminated.
They'll be contaminated. So, do I have anybody that hunts in here? Alright. So y'all go hunting, right? The deers eat the grass. The grass grows from where? Right. So if there's pollutants in the soil, then what's in the grass?
Poison.
Pollution.
Right.
So if the deers eat the grass, that means they got the inside of them. Oh.
It contaminates the deer. So over time, it changes the anatomy, or it can change the anatomy of the animals that are in the environment, right?
Yeah.
Because everything eats grass. Like even your dog eats grass. So like when they get an upset stomach, they'll eat grass. Yeah. So how do we think the years, like, how do we think the earth and everything's going to look in 20 years? The color's not going to change. What'd you say, Ella?
Like things will be different due to like the things people choose to do.
Yeah.
We might have a lot more viruses or
The water level.
The viruses and vaccines wouldn't matter with the soil. Those are mostly airborne stuff.
Would there be less crops stuff?
It might make stuff harder or difficult to grow. That's part of the reason why like your farmers will change their crops. So like if you have a farmer that does cotton, right? They do cotton for a year, 2 years. And then you see the next year they plant soybeans. Why?
because the economy is growing right.
Nope.
Doesn't like tons like take a certain nutrients and the other plants take a different one?
Oh.
So plants take certain nutrients out of the soil that that plant needs, right? So cotton, corn. Most of the time in those fields, you'll see soybeans either the next year or the year after they've planted 2 years.
Why? What are they
Because the soybeans or a different type of crop will add the nutrients back to the soil that the other crop needs. Does that make sense? Alright, so with the pollutants that is going into the rivers, right? What else is that polluting? What lives in the river?
Fish.
Fish.
And mice.
Oh, come on. Okay. What drinks the water?
Dogs.
Animals.
Wait, is that why Calhoun had like the
People.
water thing? Like
What do you mean?
a couple months ago, I think in like December, it was like a big thing about the water thing.
Yes, and they're still suing. Yes.
Yes. So basically what happened was Rome tested the water, found out that it was polluted. So the river that's out here feeds into Rome, and it goes into the Coosa. So what Rome has done is sued Calhoun. What Calhoun wants to do is sue Dalton, because Dalton's upriver. Because whatever happens upriver goes where? Downriver. So let's think about this. Alright, so this is going to be our lab. So we got A and we got B, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Alright, one has no pollutants in it. It'd be like it was before people arrived, right? Before everybody started polluting stuff. One has pollutants in it. But, here's the thing. Now one looks a little wet because the containers were wet. So, but anyway, because I've already done this once. In the soil, can you tell the difference?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's just one's wet. That one's
Well, yeah, one looks wet, the containers were.
I don't think they would.
But do they look any different?
No.
Looks the same, right? Alright, so this is what we're gonna do. Okay? Who thinks A has it in it? Has the pollutants? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, everybody raise your hand high. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we got 15 of them that think that A is polluted. And I'm gonna just put P for polluted. Alright. Who thinks B? No, what do you think? A or B?
A.
put in P. Do we not? Alright. Exactly. So, how would we figure out which one was polluted?
By testing the soil.
By testing it, you can test it out. No. Don't eat dirt.
Dirt,
Huh?
only dirt.
Planting.
Dirt.
You're big. The textures are the same. It's the same.
A is the polluted one, correct?
That's what you don't know. You don't know until we test it. That's, right now you're
The
building.
sound. The sound.
Right now you're building an hypothesis.
Oh,
Is that right?
Sounds polluted.
Right now y'all are building a thing called a hypothesis. Right? So it's what you think. Then we're gonna find out which one it is. Okay?
comparing.
But
Which one looks?
yeah, but that's the thing, is both of them are the same. They the same texture, same, huh?
C looks a little different. It looks like it's got.
It looks a little green. It looks like dirt.
Guys, unless you test it, so unless you dig it up, put it in a Ziploc bag, and send it to a lab, or you have a kit to test it, you're not gonna know. We got some. But you're not gonna know if it is or not. So, here's what we're going to do. Who wants, which one do we want to do first? Do we want to do A first or B first?
A.
We
B.
want to do two more
C.
A's, then I'll
C.
do B's.
C.
B.
C.
Right.
Alright. Hey Sarah, will you tilt that down just a little?
You get
Right there. We can move the mouse. Okay. Adding print. So, we said A first, right? This is what you're gonna do, don't break coffee pot, because it's from offices. So, don't break it. Alright, pour it in. Pour it in there. Let's see. So, alright. So coming out of there, does that look clean? I mean, other than the dirt,
That kind of.
does it
Yeah.
look clean?
Yeah.
It looks clean.
Kind of looks not clean.
No, the dirt's not clean.
No, it looks.
That's kind of like getting into. That's kind of like getting into a river. You know how when you get into a river and you stick your feet in, and all of a sudden it comes up. So the river could be clear before you get in, but you stand in there and all of a sudden it's not going to be. Right? Alright. So see how it's starting to kind of separate up on the TV?
Oh.
So all the dirt's starting to settle and all the clean water's starting to come up to the top. So was A polluted?
No.
No. So A wasn't polluted, right? Okay. Throw that water out the door. So if A is not polluted, let's see if B is. Because we don't know. There might not be anything in either one. So, kinda got an orange tint, right? So what does that mean about bees?
Contaminated.
Bees polluted. So, if bees polluted and A is not, what did we observe?
I was wrong.
That you can't tell, but if you just saw something on the ground.
Right. I can walk out there and I can't tell you if it's polluted or not. We could send it off and check it. But that's what you have to do. Because you have to test it. So, how could we stop the pollution?
Stop putting stuff in the water.
Stop putting stuff in the water. Stop spraying the chemicals. Yeah, oil spills. So like when when the tankers go out overseas and the oil spills that we had 5 years ago? No? 10? So if they don't get all that oil up, then where does it go?
In the ocean.
The chemicals go into the water, they go into the ocean, they wash up on shore, they go to the air. Well,
They go into the fish.
it depends on if it catches on fire.
They go into the fish.
They go into the fish.
And we eat that fish.
Yep.
And then we got to try to
Yeah. But that's why a lot of people, yes, organic's more expensive. But that's why a lot of people like to eat organic meat over the other. It's because they want to know what it is that they're putting in their body. So for farmers that, like I said, do organic meat, they don't spray anything at all. But let's say you go up to the closest farm I know. You go up to the Williamses or the cattle auction. And let's say that hypothetically they do. Then the cows are contaminated too. Can't kill it, just money. You gotta think, if you're a farmer, that's your lifeline. You can't kill it. But that's something that you need to pay attention to. Can you pull that up on the TV one more time? I wanted to show them this. Yeah. But so the runoff from them building these houses back here. What do you think is gonna happen when they start laying pipes and spraying stuff and building these houses?
They might get stuff put in
Look.
the grass.
Look on the board. You see how it's orange?
Ew, it looks green.
Oil, it looks like vegetables.
It looks green. It looks like something in the ocean.
Yeah, but the difference between the way the water looks for A and the way that the water looks for B. Remember how the water in A was clear? It still had the dirt, but it was still clear. This isn't clear. Right? This looks like. Would you drink it?
No.
No.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah.
If I had this, I'd never survive it.
Well, I would. But, alright. So, what we're about to do is we're going to finish up y'all's presentation on deforestation, pollution, and urbanization. So we're going to finish up y'all's presentation. And